Next slide, please, George. So just small recommendations. Well, you are not going to be available to mute or unmute. If you have any question, you can raise your hand, and we can give you the access to open your microphone. But you can open, or you can write the questions on the chat. But at the end of this presentation, we are going to have a space for everyone to have a question or to put their questions. As I mentioned, this is going to be recorded, so we are going to make available this this video to everyone, so for you to be able to share it with your colleagues or with any of the partners in the region. Next, George. Well, we want just to remind you that we have placed all the information regardless to the RMRP 2023-2024 in the Key Resources website, and you can see the link in this slide. So any information that you might need as to present the activities, or where to download the templates for the activity presentation, etc., is available in this Key Resource page. If for some reason you don't find something available, please feel free to write to any of the regional IMs, or remember that in some cases, some platforms make slight changes, mainly in the template for the activity presentation or the submission of activities. So you can feel free as well to contact your national IMO or your coordinator at national level. Next slide, please. So this process, the activity submission process, will start on the 8th until the 17th of September. In this period of time, any of the partners can present the activities to the link that we will show you later in this presentation. Then after these until these 2 weeks, we will have 2 more weeks for activity validation, where all the national platform or sub-regional platform will start validating all the activities. So if any of the partners, they have any activity that might require a correction, or that they need to include more information, any of the sectors or the national platforms will contact directly to you for to validate this information. Just to clarify, when we are doing the validation of the activities, then it's not necessarily to you to resend the information in the COBO form that we are going to explain later. This information is going to be validated directly by email. So they are going to request you to fix or to change or modify your activities depending on the comments they have on the activity that you are presenting. And then you will resend this amendment to the person who is requesting this this information. From the 1st to the 15th of October, then we start another process, and this is more information at the coordination or information management level. It's not for the partners. We are going to start the target definition. The target definition is being defined with all the activities that all the partners are presenting for the sectors at the country level. That's why it's very, very important that all your activities include a target definition for each activity. If you don't include this information, if you don't include the numbers, most probably the coordinators, the IMs, or whoever is participating in the activity validation will contact you to include the target, because this is important information at the time that we are doing the target definition. Next slide, George. So about the time frame for to submit the activities or to submit the form to our COBO form. So it's a process that includes different steps. First, you might need to work internally in your organization to add all the activities in the Excel template that we are going to share or that you have available in the key resources web page that we share with you at the beginning of this presentation. For more information, just if Jorge, you can share the link in the chat for, or James, you can help us sending the link for the people to access easily to this link. So then you download this template. Be careful, and this is just a recommendation for some countries like Ecuador, maybe Colombia, in case someone is participating from these countries, that they have some slightly changes in the Excel template. So make sure that you are presenting activities using the template of your country. And also, in case you are a regional director or you're presenting activities at the regional level, make sure you present the activities only or using a template for each country or for each level. Let me explain this. For example, for the Caribbean, if you are working for the whole Caribbean, for the 5 countries of the Caribbean, in this case, you need to present country by country a template form. Okay, this is the way how you need to present it. If you are in Colombia, then validate with Colombia. You are in Ecuador, please validate with your country that the template that we have is the same template that you might need to use. In previous RMRPs, we have some organizations that they download the template and they present at the regional level all the countries. So this is not the way that you might need to present, because then by the time that you are using the online platform or this submission link that you might see here in the third step, you might need to select the country you are submitting the information for. So let's say if you are sending the information and then you put regional, you mean that you are presenting activities only for the regional platform, but not for the whole countries at the regional level. And the same is going to happen if you are in a sub-regional platform. So if you are in Caribbean, in Guyana, if you are in Dominican Republic, in Aruba, so you might need to present individual templates. So all this information is processed internally in your organization. You work with your colleagues, you write all the activities in the Excel template, and then once you have everything ready, then you enter first to the GAN form that later today we are going to explain a bit more, or we are going to give more detail how to submit this information. It's a form that is a different platform. It's going to take you around 20 minutes to enter this data. This is very important because if you don't do this process, you cannot continue the submission process. Once you fill the form in the GAN form, then you can open this link, the WWR4B info / in English, the submission. So please, George, you can share this link as well. Then this is the code form that is integrated in our website. Then you open this code form, and then you start filling the information in this form. The information is usually the country, the organization, the contact, and the email. Very important that you put the contact of the focal point for the organization who is in charge of validating the information, or who is the person who is going to receive any comment from the validation team in each country. If you know that you are going to be on leave, or maybe you don't have enough time by these days, by the days that I was showing you at the beginning of this presentation, that is between the 18th to the 1st of October, then please put the focal point of the person that is going to be available, because most probably you are going to receive any feedback from the validation team. Once you enter this information, then you might need to start uploading the Excel file. So you are going to have, I'm going to try to share here my screen. Just a second, George. Here. So this is the form that you are going to see. So you enter the country, the appealing organization, the contact name, the email, and then this is the option to enter your information or your Excel template. Please make sure that you are sending us the proper Excel file. Then you might need to enter information of the sectors you are working with. And please, George, present again. Then they are going to request information about the reference code from the GAM form that you are going to receive. So you copy, once you send all the information for the GAM process, then you will get a code. You enter the code in the code form that we were sharing, and then you will have 7 questions more that take you around 5 minutes for the PSCA and the AAP activities. Then you go to the centrality of protection question, that these are 6 questions, around 5 minutes as well. And you will end up with the environment marker questions that it will take you between 5 to 10 minutes. Once you finalize all this information, please remember that all these questions are mandatory and we require all this information to do our analysis for the RMRP process. Then you can click on submit the code form. Once you submit the code form, you will receive a confirmation email in the email that you provide at the beginning in the contact field or in the email field. Please make sure you have plenty of time. You have 2 weeks to present your activities. Make sure that once you submit the information, is the information that is valid, that you are not going to make any changes. In previous years, we have many organizations that they submit many times, plenty of times, this form. This is possible. We are not going to tell you that you cannot do it. Indeed, you can do it, but it can give you some troubles, or we can make some mistakes. We always take, for your information, we always take the last form that you submit, and from that form, we take the Excel file. So if for some reason you make a mistake in the activity, so you need to make an amendment, please let us know. Contact your focal point at the national level. Let us know so that we can delete that submission, and then you can submit again, or you can send it twice. But this is not the best practice for this scenario, because we can make mistakes. Just consider that we receive around 200 partners sending information in 17 countries. So at the end, it's a lot of activities, and all this process, at the end, we need to do it kind of manually to integrate all the activities. Please go to the next slide, George. So getting more in details, then this is the Excel file that you are going to download from our website. What is new in this template form compared with the last year is that we have a new column that you can indicate the year that you are submitting the information. This is because now, as you know, the RMRP is by year, but in this case, you cannot send activities for the 2 years. So if you have an activity that is for the 2 years, you might need to split the activity in 2. This is required because it's necessary for the target calculation. Please also make sure that it's not possible, or just for you to understand that it's not possible to present activities for multiple countries. If you have activities for multiple countries, you might need to enter multiple times the activities. And remember, the idea is that you present a form for each country. A recommendation for all of you, please don't change the format. I know sometimes it's very stressful, but that you need to enter, or you want to enter some data. This template form is set up by default with the information that we require. Most of the time, people, they want to enter or force the form to receive information. Please don't change it, because we have developed a couple of tools to avoid manually integration of all the activities or for the validation process as well. So if you change whatever in this form, the drop-down list, the names, etc., this is going to cause us trouble. So please, this is a recommendation. Keep it like you receive it. Now we're going to enter in more details about the submission form. Okay, and whatever, and these columns that you can see in red, and now I'm going to show you more detail, are columns that are calculated automatically. So please don't change it because this is part of the form. So getting more in details in the form. So these are the columns. This is the column that I was talking about. That this is the new column that you can choose the year of the activity. So you just enter in this activity in this column and select the year. Remember, you cannot enter activities for the 2 years. If you have an activity that is going to be for the 2 years, then you might need to split it and then split all the information regardless to the beneficiaries or the targets of the activity, as well as the cost of each activity. Then you will have, as always, the country and the admin one. Please make sure that you always select both columns. In some cases, as in the Caribbean, we don't have disaggregation at the admin level 1, but all the other countries in the region, they have the option of to select the admin 1, the state, the department where you are going to implement the activity. Then you will need to go to the drop-down list of the organization. Please look for the name of your organization. Make sure your organization is there and use the drop-down list that is there. Don't change the name of the organization. If for some reason you think the name of the organization is wrong, please let us know. But this is a list that we have been working during the last 4 RMRPs that we have released. So make sure your organization is there and select the name of your organization. In case you cannot find your organization in the list, then you select new organization. And in that case, you might need to go to the instructions and fill these fields with the name of the organization. So you might need to provide the country where you are working, the name of the organization, the name in Spanish and in English. Well, here is the name in English, then in Spanish, acronym name, in case you have an acronym name, then the organization type. Please make sure that you select from the drop-down list and that you are not breaking the drop-down. And as usual, you provide as well some the focal point, because in case we have a mistake or we have any question, we are going to contact directly the person who provides this information. Here, as you can see, this is the right column. You cannot change it. Please don't try to change it. I know there are some technical people that they can break these fields, but if you break these fields, the only thing that you are going to get is that you are going to get some trouble, some mistakes, and you are going to give us more work. Then you go to the column, to the next 2 columns, that is select the sector, subsector, or working group. And please, again, here you select from the drop-down list. Don't change it here by default, because this is the webinar in English. This is the template in English, but as you might know, we have a Spanish version, so you don't need to translate the name of the sector or the name or the indicator name. Once you filter by sector, you might get the drop-down list for each indicator in the drop-down list for each sector. Please make sure you don't enter any indicator that you have for your organization. Just consider that these are the monitoring framework for the RMRP. It's not the monitoring framework for your organization. This is something that is really confusing for many of our partners, that they have some indicators for their projects. So this is not a monitoring process for your own projects. It's a monitoring process for the whole RMRP as a response to the Venezuelan emergency. So please make sure if there is an indicator that is aligned with the activities in your organization, but also these indicators are being already validated for all the sectors and is aligned with the strategy of the sector at the regional level. For more information, now I'm going to show you some tools that we have developed for you to understand more about the strategy, the objectives, and the indicators related with each objective in each sector. Once you select the indicator, then you will get here in this red column which kind of indicator you have selected. As well, in this sheet, you can see another page with information about the type of indicator that you are working with. And once you select the indicator type, which type of beneficiaries or targets you need to provide us. So in any of the indicators is telling you the type of indicator you are selected. So as you can see, I have selected now 6 different type of indicators. So we have indicators that they are related with campaigns, with direct assistance, with infrastructure, capacity building, mechanisms or advocacy, and then all the other indicators that the group is very wide. So we have integrated in a group that is called others. So we do this because depending on the indicator, then you might need to enter data for the target of the activity. I'm going to show you in a bit what is the difference when you select any of these indicators. Then you might enter the name of the activity and the description. The name of the activity, try to put something that can allow us to identify quickly what you are trying to do with the activity, but then you will have more space in the activity description. Make sure that your activity description is no more than 250 words. Why? Because then this is going to be in another tool, and we don't want to have many words in the description, but as well, some of the tools, they have some restrictions when we want to show all these fields. So this is going to be in a database that is going to be available for all the partners to check and revise the activities that have been presented to the RMRP 2023 and 2024. These tools are also published by the R4B team in order for all the community to access to the activities that we are planning, including the donors, that they are very interested in to see which activities our partners are planning. So make sure that all this information is well described because people are going to access. And also, you might need to know that all this information is going to be public. Then, as always, you will see the other 3 columns of the cost of the activity. So we have 2 fields that you can enter the value of the activity. First, everything that is related to in-kind and all the programming costs of this in-kind activity, and then everything that is related to the CVA activity, including as well the cost of the activity. So all these values, make sure that is going to, in case the activity has a component in the two modalities, then here the total budget of the activity is calculated automatically. Please don't change this column again. If the column is red, it's because you cannot change it or you shouldn't change it. Don't enter any tests as well here. So we have put some rules in the template for people not to enter tests, but in our experience, somehow people, they manage to break the restrictions and they enter sometimes some descriptions here. So we don't want all the detail. We only want to receive the information of the value or the cost of the activity. If you think it's very important to provide this information, make sure that you can enter that data in the 250 words that you have in the activity descriptions. Once you finish this, then is when the value of this type of indicator comes here. So I was telling you that you might need to define the target of each activity. So whatever you find in black is because we don't require information. So, and when it's in white, then you might need to enter some information in these columns. So the campaigns, for example, you might have one column that is going to be mandatory and one column that is going to be optional. So here you might need to enter, for example, how many campaigns you are going to implement in this activity, 1 campaign, 2 campaigns, and then as optional, you can say, oh, with this campaign, I want to reach, I don't know, 80,000 beneficiaries. But these beneficiaries are indirect beneficiaries. That's why we have it here in another column. The same happens with activities that are with direct assistance. So this direct assistance is basically all the activities that we use to define the targets for the people, for people that they are related with people in need. So you might need to enter different types of population. Here you will have different columns to describe the different population groups. So you will have migrants, refugees and migrants from Venezuela in destinations. This is one option. You will have refugees and migrants from Venezuela in transit. You will have host communities, and only for the Colombia case, you will have pendular and Colombian returnees. If for some reason in your country, so like countries that are close to Venezuela, please remember that this pendular situation in our definition is within the countries that are sharing border with Venezuela. So this is a situation that in all previous RMRPs, we never have received information from other countries besides Colombia. If this is a new case that you are going to submit information for these 2 columns, make sure that this is what you are understanding. Then you will have the gender and age breakdown. At the regional level, we are requiring only to disaggregate for girls and boys under 18 and for women and men above 18. We know that in some cases, in some platforms, they request more information because the partners have more capacities to report, but because we know that other platforms, they don't have the capacity, the rule at the regional level is only to provide this level of disaggregation. And here, you might see that you are going to describe, or you are going to disaggregate the gender and age group for the total population. So, for example, you will have 100 Venezuelans in destination. You will have 0 people in transit, maybe 20 people in host communities, 0 in pendular, 0 in returnees. As you can see, you will get like kind of alert in red that is telling you that something is wrong. This is because the values are not matching. Once you enter the total here, the total beneficiaries, then you will get another color code that is a warning. This color coding meaning that something is missing. So here the information that is missing is the age and gender group. So for example, here we are going to say that we have 25 girls, 25 boys, and we have 60, so we have 110 and just 10 men. So once everything is matching, then the color codes disappear, and at the end you will get an okay for your activity. If for some reason you make a mistake in the calculation, for example, I put here 30, then you will get the color coding of this, and the explanation of this color coding is in this column. If something is wrong, for example, here, then you will get an explanation in this column, meaning that the total sum of all the population groups is not matching the total beneficiaries for the activity. So make sure everything is matching, then you will not have problems. Another thing that we have noticed in previous RMRP is that people, they enter values here that are not numbers. So make sure that you put only integer numbers. We don't want tests, we don't want decimals, we are talking here about people or absolute numbers for activities. So make sure you are providing this information. And the same is going to happen with infrastructure, capacity building, and mechanism. So make sure, for example, in capacity building or in infrastructure, a common mistake that people, they say, for example, oh, I'm going to build a hospital. So here, or we are going to rehabilitate a hospital. Yes, the indicator is talking about infrastructure. So we want to know how many hospitals you are going to rehabilitate or to construct. So you will say here, 1 or 2 hospitals. We don't want the information about how many beneficiaries can get the benefits from the rehabilitation or the construction of this hospital, because none of the people or the partners that are implementing this activity can count by sure how many beneficiaries can get the benefits on the infrastructure. So there are some methods to calculate, but here the indicator is related directly with infrastructure. So this is what we want to receive. The same happened with capacity building. So capacity building, we say, oh, how many trainings you are going to implement? Oh, I'm going to implement 6 trainings. Then you can say, oh, okay. Then because a training is easy to know how many people participate in the training, then you can say, okay, this is oriented to 100 people, and then you can provide as well the information about the gender and age group. Usually here, for example, people make this mistake, make sure that the trainings usually don't go to girls and boys. So I added here as an example, but usually the information goes to adults. In some very, very specific cases, you can have capacity building activities to girls and boys. That's why we didn't block this option. And finally, the mechanisms or other activities, again, is a process of how many, for example, how many documents, how many products, how many elements you are going to present with the activity. So we want only the total output of this activity, and we don't want any information related to beneficiaries or to people. That's why we are showing these columns in black. So this is everything in the activity here as well. Just to tell you again, you will have a color coding telling you if the activity is okay, or if it's not okay, you are going to receive a message here to tell you more or less what is the problem. Make sure, again, you don't change. Sorry to repeat so many times, but even when we have repeated so many times, people, they keep changing. Jorge, I'm going to stop sharing, so please share again the presentation. Ah, no, sorry, I'm gonna share it here again, because then we are going to show the other tool. So if you have questions about the indicator, then it's available in the key resources page. You can get now a Power BI that is integrated in our website. So if you have any questions about which indicators are in our monitoring framework, then this tool is available. You just get in and you can decide whether if you are you need the version in English or in Spanish. It's just the same. You can filter how many indicators you can have. For example, how many of them are data assistance or capacity building. You can filter by sector, and you will get here the code of the indicator, the description of the indicator for more information. Sometimes people are confused about, oh, I don't know where my activity fit in the RMRP process. So if you want all this information, you can easily access here. As well as integrated in the activity, but then it's more, or it's easier if you go to this tool that I'm presenting to you in our website. So I hope this information is of great value for all of you. Here you can see, as well, the description that there are some definitions, some examples for each indicator. But if this is not enough, feel free to contact the coordinators for each sector in your country or at the regional level for more explanation. The idea is that you select the indicator that it relates more with the activity that you are implementing, and this indicator is only, you need to select an indicator that is only in our monitoring process for the RMRP 2023-2024. So this is all from my side. George, you can go with the next slide. Over.
Thank you, Johan. I'm going to share my screen right now, and good morning to everyone. And yeah, for guaranteeing the quality of our data in the submission process, we have worked on an application that it's going to be available online. And this application, it's available in both language, English and Spanish. And I will work through an example on this application and how it works, but it's mainly used to verify if the activities are like compliant with the template that Johan just exposed. And we strongly suggest to use this tool before uploading the submission template into the Kobo form. So now I'm going to share the app as well as the link in the chat box. So give me some time. Yeah, I am just pasting the web link in the chat. Yeah, there is the quality control app. So these go through a sort of rules that are being used for check the quality of the data that has been plugged into the submission form. So for this part, I've worked on a simple example, more or less based on what Johan just did. And here we can see that, yeah, I have pre-filled some rows. And as stated in the web page, we can see here, it is asking only to paste only the headers. Sorry, without headers, only data without headers. So for this, I'm going to copy the data from the Excel file. And I'm going to paste it back here. Then data must need to be imported. So you have to go through this button and import the data. And after this, some rules are going to be applied. Come on, I'm going to refresh the page, sorry. Something happened. Okay, you paste the data here, then you import the data, and finally, you're going to get a data quality report, and it's going to point you where you have missed something. Let's say if you've missed on admin one field, or if you missed some information on description of the activities, or maybe if the sums of age and gender breakdowns are not same as the totals. So we strongly recommend to use this app so you can get the data quality review. Next on our presentation, we have some portion of the Kobo form is the gender with age marker. So this is a tool created by the Interagency Standing Committee used for strengthening the gender equality within programmatic and planning activities. So for this, we have to keep in mind that we must go through this process before the Kobo submission. And after we end with the gender with age marker, we're going to get, let's say, two numbers or two things, the MGE code and a reference number as we have here in the slide. These two things must be like saved in a good place before starting the Kobo submission, because those are going to be asked in our Kobo in the R4B platform. For this, we are also working to have a webinar with a lot of detail on how to fill this GAM marker. And it's going to be held in the 2nd of September at 10 a.m. And it's going to be in Spanish, but it's going to be translated, I believe, live. So we have two focal points. You can see their names and their emails there. So any questions can be raised. Sorry, something to keep in mind. We also have in this webinar a chat box, and you can use it. You can also raise your hand if you have some questions. We can give you the mic, and then you can ask the question openly. So this is the online platform. We have placed within our webpage the Kobo form that you must fill in. In this Kobo form, yes, you're going to put information regarding the organization name, the country, as well as there you have a place to upload the Excel file that is the template that we just showed you. So there we have to go through some questions, and I'm going to try to explain there here in more detail. Something to keep in mind as well is that if your organization is not in the COBOL list, you must go from the appealing organizations and select other. And within this portion of the form, you will have to choose well, the country, the appealing organization that it's other in this case, and you have to write down the name of your organization with the acronym, as well as the type of organization. We have here a classification that we use for the RMRP, and it's academic, civil society, faith-based organizations, NGO, NGO, Red Cross, and UN. So this is something to keep in mind if your organization is not on the list of appealing organizations. Here is the part with the gender with age market that I just tried to explain. So in our submission form, we have two questions regarding this. As you can see there, we are always asking to insert the GAM reference number and the overall GAM code. As I said, these two things are going to be retrieved from in another platform when you go through the GAM assessment. Okay, for accountability to affected populations and protection from sexual exploitation and abuse, we have worked with 7 questions in total. Most of the answers are standardized, as you can see. There you have an example. And it's a questionnaire that mainly will take you around 5 minutes on how to do the activities collectively, addressing centrality of protection. We have 6 questions in total. It will take you more or less around 5 minutes. For the environmental marker self-assessment questionnaire, the portion of the form that has been renewed, we have placed there shorter questions. We have text with hints on each question. Most of the answers have been standardized, and it will ease the identification of environmental needs. So it also depends on the sector. And yeah, there we have to go through some main points like environmental impact assessment. It depends on the sector. Let's say if we are working for something for wash, then we have to take into account water treatment, waste management, or sustainable constructions. Yeah, the number of questions will depend on the numbers of sectors chosen in the upper portion of the form, and it will take you around 5 to 10 minutes. Finally, you have to submit the email, and you will get a confirmation from the platform r4b@gmail.com. Be sure, please, to check your spam, and then you will find that your submission form has been submitted properly. So from my side, I think that's it. Johan?
Thank you, Jorge. Well, finally, just for information, mainly to coordinators, IMs at the national level, but also for some of the partners that are involved in the coordination of the sectors or that participate in the validation of activities. As always, we have, thank you. We have some rules that we have implemented in previous RMRPs for the validation process. So this is a table that we have recommended to all the national platform and sub-regional platforms for the validation process. Are 7 points that you might need to consider. I know that in other cases, specifically in other cases, or in some platforms, you can include more validation criteria, but at least these are the 7 steps that you might need to follow for each activity. If any of these criteria are not aligned with the activity, then you might need to send a recommendation to the respective partner who is in charge of the activity. Who can participate in the validation process? Well, this is decided internally in each national platform, sub-regional platform, and even at the regional level for the panel of partners. But the idea is to have representation of different partners in this validation process. As well, it's mandatory or is required that none of the partners are validating their own activities. So if for some reason you are in charge of a sector, at least for the activities that are related to your organization, you shouldn't be the person in charge of validating this activity. So these are the recommendations that we have for the validation process. Any questions at the end of this webinar? Next, Jorge. So we have reached the end of this presentation. We are going to open the space or the floor to any of you. If you have any question, you can put it in the chat. I think you have the right to raise your hand in case you have any question. Here we have the panel of all the IMs at the regional level to answer your questions. If you don't have questions, then we might consider that happily all of you understand this process and you can present your activities without problem. I don't know, I'm going to give maybe Philippe, if you want to share something about what you put in the chat, if you can make him a presenter for a bit or open the microphone for Philippe, George.
Working on it. Mic allowed.
Good morning. Thanks a lot, guys, for this very easy to follow webinar. Thanks for giving me an opportunity. As mentioned by Jorge and Johan, please don't hesitate to ask. It's always easier for us to respond to questions now or in the process as opposed to later when everybody's asking questions. So please feel free now bilaterally with the team in Panama, with your teams in the Caribbean, feel free. It shouldn't be a too complicated a process. Sometimes it looks a little bit more difficult than it actually is. What I was mentioning in the chat briefly was an additional explanation webinar that will be provided end of this week. by the colleagues from UN Women, specifically on the GAM, the gender and age marker. It allows us to speak to the community. It allows us to demonstrate to what extent is the response plan age and gender sensitive, to what extent have refugees and migrants been included in the entire process, and so on. It's part of the transparency and engagement that we have with affected communities across the region. The invitation will follow this webinar, but you already have now in the chat and in this webinar the information about it. It's this Friday at 10 a.m. Panama time. The link is in the chat, and we will be sharing with you shortly, like with everybody else, the invitation to join that event. As always, feel free to consult the key resources page of r4v.info for any of the information that you've benefited from today, all the materials, in particular the planning instructions, to enjoy at your leisure. Thanks so much, guys. Back to you.
Thanks to you, Philip. And well, because it looks like no one has questions, can you go to the next slide and then we can revise? Okay, we have
some hands now. Yeah.
Go ahead. Give the floor to Shivana, please.
Looking for people to give permission to speech. Yeah, just wait me a little bit.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a question on the mark. So at the end of the survey, you get the number and the marker. Sometimes persons they forget to write it down, and they close the survey, and then it's an issue to get it back. So I just want to raise that concern.
Yeah, Chief, thank you, and that's good to point. And yeah, I believe we cannot do anything about it, but it's good to take this into account. And when you're filling the GAM, you have to take these numbers and write it somewhere else to keep track of them, and then later you can write it in our own submission. Yeah, so thank you for that and for making this more clear to everyone.
Thank you. We have Livia in the chat that is saying that if the Caribbean partners have any questions from the Caribbean, they can contact. But maybe Livia, if you want to talk about it or announce here in the microphone, it will be better.
Sure. Thanks, Johan. Good morning, everyone. Well, yeah, as was mentioning in the chat, Maria Chiara and myself are available to discuss bilaterally with partners in the Caribbean and with their respective national platforms in case there's any doubt. Of course, this webinar was regarding the process, right? How to do it at the technical level. But if there's any question on what type of activities, how do I coordinate with the other partners, I don't know, under which sector this activity is, and so on and so forth, we are more than available to discuss with you bilaterally, of course, in coordination with your national platform coordinators. And of course, the same also for CAM, so Costa Rica, Panama, and Mexico. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Livia. I think Maria Chiara wants to mention something as well. In the meantime, while you open the microphone to Maria Chiara, James, I don't know, you want to go to the final slide with the questions from the last webinar in Spanish. So you want to give a brief on the questions that we have previously? Okay, sure. Can you go to the next slide?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, this is few questions we got from the last webinar in Spanish. So I wanted to go through if any relevance. So there was a question: is there any limit for submitting activity, meaning a number of activity? No, there is not. But you should totally be aware about the specific need in a specific sector you would like to submit activity. You should be aware, and here the national platform will provide the information about how many partners are already doing activity in this specific sector. So there is no limit per se, but you cannot just like upload many activities with many unrealistic targets, because in any case, this will be sent back during the validation process. So just to be sure that your target of your activities are relevant, please ask for all the PIN the person in needs for the sector you wish to submit, just to be sure you're in line with the needs and the number of organizations doing those activities. The second question, but Johan mentioned it earlier, it was about regional organization. How do we do? So here there's two scenarios, let's say. Regional organization, meaning one organization which is present in different countries. This for us is not a regional organization per se. This is an organization that is in different country. In that case, they need to submit in every country their activity which is relevant with the country. They need to do a specific GAM for each country and all the markers. And then we have more like the regional activities from the regional level, like regional needs assessment or regional capacity building, and this in the submission form you need to select regional activities. There was a question about revision in 24, new organization in 24. So here, just so it's clear for everybody, so this year you need to submit for both year 23 and 24. You cannot submit just for 23. Just so this is really clear for everybody. I mean, unless you're planning to leave the country in 24, you should submit for both years. This is really important, and we will be stronger on sending back submission if it doesn't cover the both year. You will be there is a possibility to amend, revise next year during the revision process, which will take time at the same time of the year. Your activities for 24. This is not mandatory. If the situation hasn't really evolved, or if the planning figures or the stock of refugee and migrant from Venezuela hasn't increased or decreased hugely, you don't need to do so. If you wish, if your organization is a bit changing the sector where she's working, you will have the opportunity to do so. But in general terms, if there is no major change, and this is why it's really important that you plan accordingly for the 2 years. It's a heavier process this year, but if our planning figures and PINs figures for the next 2 years are correct, you shouldn't have to do this revision job next year, but we will open the opportunity to do so. If we have a new organization that wants to be part of the RMRP 24, this will be possible, of course, during this process next year, but just for the second years of 24. They will have to undertake all the markers, COP, AAP, PSCA, and the GAM to be fully compliant with our requirements to be part of the RMRP. Regarding the monitoring framework, we've been working again in revising slightly some indicator based on the feedback we had through the monitoring. there has been very little changes overall, but we wanted to open the possibility to the regional sector and the national sector to be able to do so, because we will not change anything next year. So the monitoring framework, the activity submission related to output indicator will not change next year. So we will be able to monitor on a yearly basis 23 and 24, and of course monitor the trends over 2 years. That's all from my side, based on the feedback from the last webinar. If any question, we are available. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I think then is everything for today. We don't see any hand, and we have already 6 minutes late. So we appreciate your participation, and we are going to say goodbye. Thank you to everyone for participating. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Hi. I'm good. How are you? Okay, listen, I wanted to better understand what's going on with your contract decision and so on, because I'm a bit confused. So first of all, I saw the email that you sent to Kurtra, but I mean, all the contracts, everything is managed from here. She just sends it out at the end because it's a local contract. But yeah, that email created a bit of confusion, because then she was asking me on Teams what she's supposed to do and so on. So first thing, I think it's not, I mean, I will try to clarify the procedure, but I don't think it's up to you to request like a change in the duration of the contract, but like, for example, if you accept another position or you want to resign for whatever reason, I think you would have to sign the contract that they gave you and then you give a notice. But I'm gonna try to clarify that out. So just for you to know. The second. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if you request a 15 days contract now, it means that you have taken a decision, correct? Yeah, but then I don't think the way to get more time is to ask for a 2 weeks contract extension, because it's not that they're giving you a contract for 2 weeks and then in 2 weeks you say again, oh no, I decide to stay, and they do it for 3 months and a half. So if you want more time, I mean, from IOM side, you could just sign the contract and then you take the time that you need and that you are allowed to take by your new employer if you decide to go. Just keep in mind that for IOM, I think you have 2 weeks notice. So for example, if you tell IOM this Friday that you are leaving, then your notice, I mean, you will be on board, let's say, till, for the 2 following weeks, till the 19th. So this on one hand. So I will try to put that on hold. And I think the easiest way is that you sign the contract. And then if you want to resign, you resign. Also, because I mean, I'm not sure how long it takes to issue a new contract and so on. And your contract is expiring, I think, tomorrow. So I mean, yeah, but I mean, maybe it can be done, but like that way, just for you to say that you give the message that you're leaving. I mean. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think if they give you a 2 weeks contract, they're not planning to then do a 3 months one. You know what I said? I'm not even sure it's possible to do. I don't know. I mean, so I think the contract, like, regardless, like, it's just a coincidence that you got another offer when you were about to sign this contract, but you could have signed a contract last week and then got the offer on Friday, right? So I mean, I think you can also sign and then you just resign whenever it's appropriate. Anyways, I'm gonna try to find out. The second thing yeah, I mean, but HR is not my thing, so I have to involve Rocio, KSL, or those people, and they have to talk with Kutra. Second thing, I think I don't know, you need to make up your mind on what your plans are, because I mean, I can give you advices on what I would do, but like in the end, like as IOM, there's nothing. As supervisor, there's not much more I can tell you. So my impression, I mean, the feedback that Zach gave me about your call, the call that you have, was that for you, the priority, and it's very much understandable, is to earn more money, which I guess is what everyone wants, right? So my understanding is that right now that won't be possible in IOM, because you got a salary increase of, I think, 37%, like already like a few months ago. So even for audit purposes, like it can be raised every, I don't know, few months. And also I don't know if they have the budget. Second thing, what is not clear to me is whether you, yeah. All right, meanwhile, I'll try to find out this contract thing. In any case, yeah, okay, yeah, let's continue later. Thanks.